This is the Nikon Zf, a retro-looking modern digital camera, and they've been doing a lot of things to get into that filmic kind of world. Today we're going to talk about the new grain feature, and I've actually jumped into NX Studio and tried to make some sense of how they're going about making their own JPEGs, kind of comparing it to what Lumix is doing, what Fujifilm's doing. So if you're interested in how this camera is producing JPEGs, let's check it out. Now, if you follow the channel, you might notice that this is a silver ZF. I used to have a black ZF. Neither of them are mine. Both of them have been on loan from Nikon, so thanks to them for letting me play with these cameras for such an extended period of time. But one of the things that I did want to check out, and something that was interesting, I got a kind of like an early version of the newest firmware that's been out and is completely available now to their grain feature to see kind of how that all works within their ecosystem, again, in comparison to things like Lumix and Fujifilm that also have really good JPEG options. So right off the bat, let's jump into a few images, and I'm gonna show you a few images that were actually shot on film and then some that were just done on this camera. Let me know which ones you think were done on film, which ones were done on the ZF, and then we'll kind of talk about how this works in that format. So, spoiler, those are all just on the ZF. I just used the same outlines from actual film scans that I've used. So, the point being that if you thought any of those were actually film, then like, what you're gonna get out of this is gonna be really useful for you. If you went through all those and you totally were like, man, come on, like those were obviously all digital, then, you know, you might be a film photography purist and this particular thing might not be for you, which is fine too. I think that most professionals and most people that are really, really, really particular about their look and how they want, they want their photographs to look, are always gonna shoot raw. They're always just gonna process them, and that's just part of the workflow. All the years that I did Fujifilm and all the times that I've done things with Lumix, I've always shot RAW plus JPEG, and 98% of the time, I've gone in and just used the raw files anyway because I prefer that workflow. I've probably edited millions of photos at this point, or at least a million at this point, over my 18 years of doing wedding photography and professional photography. And so I'm just used to that workflow. I want the adjustments. I want to make sure that my highlights are where they're at. I want to kind of dig into the grain and do things like that. And so I don't really use a lot of JPEG options. That said, I do think that there are a lot of cool things about how they've made this thing set up. There are a ton of features, and you can go in there and I will put my own little recipe, a few of them down below. I've modeled them off of my actual presets, and you can go in and change the tone curve. You can change the split toning. You can change all the different settings to kind of toss them into the camera and let the internal processor apply those to your JPEGs. I will say though that the system is much more cumbersome than it is on like Fujifilm or Lumix for that matter. Let's say I, make some adjustments. I test it out on some photos in NX Studio if I'm gonna make my own. So this is for you if you're making your own. I do some adjustments, I test them out on some photos, import to the camera, I go out to shoot. And I just realized that my the yellow channel in the HSL, the saturation was way too low. So everything that should have been yellow was just way too desaturated. Middle of the shoot, I can't go back and change that. There's no way to access all of that information in camera. The only way to do that is in the NX Studio app on the desktop. So kind of one of those things where it's like, if you want to make an adjustment while you're out there shooting, then you can't really do that. So the way that I think that would be best to go about it is to find, something that works and then make a few different variations of that. And then that kind of can help this whole system out. One of the frustrating things is just the fact that, you can't really adjust much once you've done it. But the bonus thing about that is the amount of customization and flexibility in the Studio app once I'm like on the computer using it is incredible. But it's just the fact that I can't adjust it once I'm out there, right? So it's just kind of like which thing do you like better here? Do you like kind of dialing something in on a computer and then going out and using it? And I think, again, once things are dialed in, it's going to be a lot better. But I think I'm on my 7th version of like a preset that I've made for this camera that I've put on there, adjust, put on there, adjust, put on there, adjust. So there's definitely a learning curve. And even as someone who I feel like I'm really, really good at image processing and understanding all that kind of stuff and have made my own presets and I have a good grasp of that, it's still taken me a bit to figure that out. Now, if you're someone that does like a lot of the, what are they called? Picture controls. There are lots of other good ones on their apps and stuff that you can download from other creators. Again, you can use mine as well. And I'll just put them for free. You can just download them straight from the description below. If you would subscribe, that would be great as like a little thank you to download these. But I do think that one of the cool things about the grain feature on here that not a lot of the others are doing necessarily is the fact that you have two different kind of things in terms of like size and intensity. But then also if you take multiple photos, it's not like it's just slapping something across the front of it. I don't know what their algorithms or however the grain's working, but it is different on every single photo. I would say that they're probably slapping something across the entire image, and it's not like it's going based off of luminosity or anything like that. It's not changing. It doesn't seem like based on that, but it is not just duplicating the exact same grain pattern every single time. So let's say you did have something on a tripod for some stupid reason and you did multiple, you wouldn't say the exact same grain pattern over every single one of them. And it is one of the things that like, I feel like it makes it feel a little bit more organic in a way. I will say though, that you can also start to get really, really over the top with the grain really, really fast. So I definitely wouldn't go more than 3 in, I think, the intensity. And I think 2 medium is kind of where I've landed at as a fun little sweet spot to give it a little bit of texture. But overall, if you have a ZF or you are someone that is considering picking one up, I do think that the JPEGs do have a really cool look to them, definitely have a lot of customization. And so if you really want to start deep diving into all of the different settings and really start to kind of like refine your look, it's definitely a spot that I think that Nikon has a good pathway here. And if they continue to expand upon it, which they have with the film grain here, I think that it is a really good spot. And it is one of the things that like, I'm probably going to continue to shoot RAW plus JPEG on this camera. And there's going to be a bunch of times where I do like the JPEGs out of it for quick little social media things, for personal stuff. And I think, again, the more I play with it, the more I'm going to like it. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Subscribe if you have not already, and then you can check out one of my ZF videos up here, and I will see you in one of those.